Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a very big Okuma. It's the Convector CV55SS. This is one of the reels that Ray brought to me. You saw this previewed earlier. And there's been some interest in having me do a video on this one, so we're going to get that done. And we'll show you how this reel is made. This is a big size reel. I called it in the, well, the 55 probably says it's somewhere between a 4.0 and a 6.0 size reel. Kind of looks like a 4.0 Penn Senator size. And, well, let's take it apart. We'll show you how it is made. We'll show you how to service this reel and how to keep it fishing. Now, normally, there's a tie-down screw. I noticed that got ground down here. So some prior service probably couldn't figure out how to get it off or snapped it off. I'm not quite sure what happened there. And this is a very large wrench required. And I'm not sure if this one's going to fit. This one's not going to fit. I don't have that many options. I have one more here. And that doesn't fit either. So if you run into a situation where you have a cap like this and you can't find it, just use a pair of channel lock pliers very carefully. You don't want to scrape up the handle. Now, of course, this was ground down. It's got a lot of nicks and things to begin with, but that's not a reason. But break it with the pliers and then take it off by hand. Well, while I'm removing these exterior parts, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you like fishing reel repair, if you'd like to understand how these reels are made, how they come together, how they come apart, how to service them, and so on, that's what this channel's about. It's all about giving reels a second chance, and more importantly, it's about teaching you how to do the service yourself. Well, we just removed the handle, and there's a little tension washer that goes behind the handle. This is a good time to tell you, take pictures along the way. If you're servicing a reel and you don't have the schematics, or you don't have a good understanding of what the reel is like, then take those pictures. That'll give you a good reference point. Also, you'll notice I'm wearing a protective glove on my hand. I like to do that. That helps me to keep a lot of the dirt and debris off. And believe me, there's a lot of dirt and debris in a lot of the reels that I've been working on lately, and I'm glad that I've had that glove on there. Well, this reel, like the other ones that Ray brought me, has been kind of full of salt and the like. I understand most of these travel on his boat, and they get out in the water quite a bit. When they're out there, they get sprayed with the salts, the mists of the crashing waves, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. And, well, they just tend to accumulate that salt. That's not bad, but you should wash off the reels when you return to the dock. And that's every time. That's not occasionally. Because if you can get the fresh water to spray it off, you'll eliminate a lot of the issues that I've seen in some of the reels that he's brought me so far. Well, I like to take that star adjuster off, and then underneath here, there's usually a washer or two. These are the two tension washers. They're bells. They're not flat. They have a curve to them. And when I take these off, I like to put those pieces into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a fast food container to do that. And that gives me a convenient storage place so that I can locate them when it's time to reinstall. What we're doing now is we're taking out the case screws. And these are rough threaded screws. And when you do this, check behind the reel. Yep, that's what I thought. You're going to find sometimes on these bigger reels, particularly ones with the high ratio gears, where you have the extension of the gear below the reel seat. Well, a lot of times they will have screws from the back here to hold the case in. So don't just assume that it's the ones up top. Make certain that you check behind. And if you're doing a low profile bait caster, sometimes they actually hide a screw behind the spool. That's not the case with this reel, but it does happen. Also take a note, those screws that came out of the back are a thinner diameter than the ones that came out of the front. I'm going to put those two in this tray. I'm going to continue to leave these on the table because I want to make sure that all of the screws to the front end of this are the same. Sometimes the manufacturer will put a, oh, there you go, put a longer screw in on some than others, and it looks like the two screws that hold this harness lug in are longer screws. When you notice that, make a note, because if you don't put them back in the same place, well, let's say we tried to put the long one in here, you'd damage the case. And if you put the shorter one in, you wouldn't connect with that harness lug. And, well, that harness lug, if you were tying it up and maybe it was just anchoring it, but it wasn't connected, well, it might fly off in the fight of a fish. So we have 4 that are the lower screws. We have 2 that are harness lugs, and we have 2 different ones in the back. We've removed all of those. This case should come off now. There we go. The case is off. This is not atypical of the way that the convectors are set up. If you go into a smaller convector, let's say a 20 size or something, you're going to see it's similar, but the bridge is going to be smaller. Otherwise, for the most part, it runs. Well, I'm thinking that this restrictor plate here is holding this spool in, so why don't we go ahead and take this off. I haven't seen this one before. I am taking pictures, so it's going to help me. And when I go to reinstall, we want to do the same thing here that we just did with the others. When we take these screws out, we want to make sure that they're all the same, and if they're not the same, we want to note where the unusual one goes. I'm also noticing as I do this that the one side of the plate has these tapered holes in it. Those tapered holes recess the head of the screw, but it's also a clue to us that when you go to reinstall the plate, that it's the tapered holes that are facing up. Well, this one's a long screw too because it's going through that. Alright, so 2 of those screws are long and one of them is short. This is the short one. Duly noted. I'm going to put those in a different corner of my box. And then we should be able to remove this plate. And the covers just keep on coming with this, and I don't know the value, but let's go ahead and do this. This is new to me, so we'll all learn from this one. You can get the spool out of the back. I'm just curious if there's a reason why we have this additional padding going here. And I'm always inquisitive, so I haven't seen a design like this before. So let's learn from it. That's half of the fun of doing these. So Okuma made a lot of spinning wheels. You've probably seen most of them. They're like the Avengers and the Coronados and the like. They've done less with the saltwater ones. And interestingly enough, the one that this one seems to be based off was the old Shakespeare Tidewater. So I'm almost wondering, did they contract out to the firm that was making those to make these? They're a decent reel. They got an okay reputation, but they're not the high end by any means, and they are durable. And you can see there's some pretty good materials inside of this. I believe these reels are made in Taiwan. I'd have to go back and check. But I think that's where most of the Okumas are made these days. Alright, I just cleaned up the piece. We're going to leave the braid on here. There's a bearing on this spool, so let's go ahead and put that oil on there. And I've already oiled the bearing in the back of the case. Just a little touch of grease onto the shaft. We'll make sure that that spins good on the inner race. Be careful when you go back in with that spool. You don't want to trap the braid in the side plate. There we go, and just seat that, and let's go put that whole assembly back on. I didn't take a note, but it appears that this is a symmetrical case, and as long as you line up one, you should be able to put them in all of them. If not, we'll do some rotation there, but that works well. While I'm doing this, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, maybe you're working on one and you're stuck, and maybe you lost the orientation, maybe you didn't take a picture along the way, or maybe a spring shot out or something like that, and you're interested in an assist, I'll try to do that for you. And just leave a note in the comment section of the video, and I will try to get back to you. I apologize to those of you that try to call the phone number on the business card in the end. When I'm working on a reel like this, or doing a video like this, I don't pick up the phone, and that's probably understood. And I can get back to you at my convenience, but it's not always as fast as me kind of setting aside some time in the mornings to do just that. All right, I've reset the plate. I looked for those angled pieces here, the taper. And we have the 3 different screws now. We have the longer one goes up top here. And then we have a short and a medium one that go below. All right, I'm just finishing tightening up that last one now. And as I mentioned, this design is fairly consistent with the smaller versions of the convectors. We have a bridge plate here. It's held on by 3 screws. We have a main gear that's held in by that. This is your jack and your yoke assembly. Take a picture here. The springs on this one go underneath the yoke, not on top of them like you'll find on some reels. And well, that picture is going to help you an awful lot when it comes time to reinstall. These do appear to be quality parts. I think they might be stainless. They look it. And just as I go to kind of remove that main gear screw, I notice that it's spinning, so I'm going to put the handle back on to hold that while I back that screw out. Most of the time on your other convectors, you need to take this center screw out because you can't set the anti-reverse dog with the bridge plate attached. It might be different on this one, but my experiences with the convectors is just that. I'm going to see if I can't move this up a little bit here to get the ring out of the way. Just putting these off to the side for a moment. You can see it's heavily salted here. I just noticed as I tried to move it away, it's a very difficult move. It shouldn't be that hard to do. All right, we got 2 more screws here before we put these into the tray. And I'm noticing that the one on the bottom has a smaller head than the 2 that are up top here. And then the one that's holding the main gear on has a rounded head. So these are all things that become important when you go to reinstall the reel. If you're not paying attention to that, well, you can get yourself in trouble in a hurry. All right, let's get these off. 2 big ones, a small one, center gear one. All of those go to the tray on the side. And put the trim ring in there so I don't lose it, as well as the handle. And with that, with all of those removed now, watch this spring here. That's the anti-reverse dog. It's running on a pivot over here. But if you're not careful, well, things can go shooting. Let's just go figure out how to get this case off. It's pretty snug. There we go. Just be careful when you're doing something like this. You don't want to go jamming and high leverage. Just work it. It will work for you. This should come off now. You want to do a couple of things. Notice you have a bushing and a washer that are going to sit on top of this AR click post here. Next up then, with this removed, you can see the position of the jack, or the anti-reverse dog, the jack. Jack is over the click ratchet. And and we'll take that off next. So why are we doing all of this? Well, you want to inspect all of the pieces and parts. You don't want to just smear grease where you think you can reach it with a brush or something. You need to do a cleaning and an inspection, and then you want to make sure that as you're doing this that you take care to identify any worn parts that may be broken and to get them replaced if needed, and make sure that it'll run and keep its service for a long time to come. We have our pinion gear is up next. It's in the yoke. Notice that the slot from the pinion gear is facing out towards you. That can come off. Set that to the side, and quickly and right away, please get those springs and put them aside so that you don't lose those. They have a habit of shooting out. We can also take this anti-reverse dog. It rides on this stud, and I generally just leave it off to the side here, leave the spring attached. But if you need to replace the spring, or if the spring came loose, that's how it is seated. Put that off to the side. Now this whole piece now will come out. This is your gear assembly. And this one was laying in a case, so I don't know. It doesn't have that diameter. I'm not quite sure where that goes. I guess we'll play around and see if we can find some places where it belongs. But for now, I'm a little bit curious about where or why that was just plain laying there. All right, this is the spring for the anti-reverse, for the jack. Put the jack in case. Leave that whole gear side there. I'm going to leave the bushing and the plate and this washer there to the side. And what we want to do now is make sure that this case gets cleaned. Well, the case is clean, but we noticed that this is pretty hard to turn. It's turning, but it's pretty hard to turn. So let's see if we can't flood that with some penetrating oil now, and just move it back and forth to loosen up some of the old salts and sands that may be in there. And it's certainly starting to move a whole lot easier. There we go. It's broken it free now. So when it does that, I like to continue for a little bit, and then what I want to do is one more spray so that it flushes out whatever just broke loose there into the case here. There you go. That's so much easier than the way it should be working now. All right, let's just mop that up with a Q-tip, keep that cleaned, and a paper towel and wipe up the excess. And I also notice seems like there's a little bit of stuff laying on the top here. That might just be the molding or the way it was casted. Okay, that's that. So let's just focus on kind of making this a rebuild. The first part up that we're going to do is go for your yoke. It's called the yoke because it kind of looks like the one that would go on beasts of burden. Clean up your main gear. Check all of the teeth in the main gear. This one's clean but dry, and that seems to be the theme of the reels that I've gotten in from Ray. They're dry, not clean. I just spent an awful lot of time on a Shimano Torium that had a rusted AR collar or sleeve that had to be freed. But if you keep your service to an annual basis, you take the half hour to do it yourself, you'll be ever thankful for it. Here's your main gear. This is a nice main gear. As I said, I think this may be stainless. We're going to remove the AR collar. And that's probably where that other one came from. Just doing a comparison of the washers. It's not here. I don't know where it is. No, it's not that one. All right, well. The AR collar and washer and assembly, the clutch, do not get oiled. A lot of folks want to do that. They get cleaned. These are friction devices. And if you had taken a picture, you would have noticed that it's a metal side that's up, the plastic side is down. If you reverse that, your reel will not turn the way you would hope it would be. Let's remove the the washers. We have a drag washer in the bottom here. This appears to be a carbon tex type of a washer or hard washer. They don't get greased or oiled. We can leave that one right in there. They're very brittle. If you try to lever out of those, sometimes they will snap. It's almost, not almost, it's very similar to the Shimano washers. Very hard, very brittle washers. Those are clean. All right, we're going to just finish that. I'm using Penn Precision Reel Grease here. I get that question a lot. You want to use a reel grease, and you want to make sure that it's designed for fishing reels. All right, the sequence here is a 6-drag system. It has a wider washer below, and it has the second wide washer with the keyed washer, or the eared washer rather, and then the last one up top is a solid washer. They alternate, so you have a drag washer. Now we come in with the solid plate one. Now we go with the wide hold one. Make sure they're cleaned. We go back in with the 4-point ear washer. Next up would be the one with the small hole, followed by the top washer. And again, you can refer to your schematic if you like. The small washer that went on next. The AR collar went on. The AR drive went on. And this is a good place to test. Well, I stopped the camera for a moment because this thing was kind of bothering me in terms of where that one goes, and I've discovered that it goes on the screw that holds the main gear to the bridge on the other side. So always best to stop, take a deep breath if you're trying to figure something out and it just is eluding you at the moment. All right, let's go ahead and put this back together again. So far we've done a lot of work here in terms of the disassembly, the parts inspection, the cleanup, all of that kind of activity. So we're going to start by putting the yoke assembly back together again. The 2 springs mount to the post. Then you press that down. Go ahead and put the main gear back in. Get the anti-reverse dog out of the way. And you're going to have to work that main gear because it's got the anti-reverse, and the anti-reverse has got to fit into the cavity. There you go. Got to fit into the cavity there. Now, those of you that work on convectors know that there's an issue with this main gear separating when you go to put that anti-reverse dog on. So just be careful with that when that time comes. I'm going to leave that anti-reverse dog off to the side for a moment. Now we'll put the jack back on. And you want to mount the angles go in, go over the notch of the stud, and then get that little screw that belongs in there. Go ahead and put that on. That's going to hold this in place just like that. If you're still having an issue there with holding that tight, it's not a problem to go back and install the star adjuster at this point to hold it in. So I'm going to take the 2 tension washers that belong there, put that on, and that's going to hold your assembly so that the anti-reverse dog does not slide underneath that click ratchet there. Okay, let's get the little stud for the took it out already. The AR dog is just looking at my parts tray. Move that out to the side. The stud sits in to the case. just like that. And what you want to do is you want to mount your AR dog in, center that stud, and make sure it gets seated. So that's how you properly install the AR dog. The spring is on that post, it's on the back here, it's held in by the stud. That little stud's got the point on it so that it anchors into the bridge case as well. With that done, then we want to go and get the two washers here. There's a big washer that went on first. Then we have the bushing, and that's on the inside of the plate. Remember what we said, there's a taper on the screw here, and that's going to tell you which side belongs out. And now it's a matter of just lining all of the holes up and seating the bridge. This one was a little tight to come off, so I imagine it's going to be a little bit tight to go back on. But it all should snap in. And seat properly. All right. I'm noticing as I look through the window here that that AR dog is a little bit out of place, so let's get that in. Once you align the holes, let's go ahead and grab those two big screws, or big head screws. They're going to go up top, and they're going to anchor that bridge from the top side. And that should pull everything into the case. There's a little bit of a gap here right now. I'm sure that's going to just go right away. There you go. The screws are pulling it in. And we want the other flathead screw for this side. I like to start them by hand if I can. That way I know that I'm not cross-threading or risking any damage to the case and so on. There we go, that one's in. Tighten this one up. Now we've got the narrow-headed one that goes into the case below. And this one is actually a little bit better to work on than the others, because you have a slot here where you can see if that reverse dog is operating properly. On the other ones you can't, so it's a little bit tough. Well, that question about where did that other washer go, it goes right here. I got that answer from the schematic. I went out to the internet and pulled it just to make sure that, well, I didn't lose it. So I guess what may have happened there, how it wound up inside the case, is that when I moved that screw out, I probably traveled over the top. I'll have to go back and look at the video, see if that's what happened. And it kind of fell off in the center of the case there. That one's on me. All right, this should be everything we want. Just go back and make sure that all of the screws are tightened down here. Let's give it a turn here. Look at that. Certainly working nice and easy. All right, let's just finish the install then. One of the things that you noticed was we had to kind of play around with this free spool release. So try and trap that up to the top there so that you can work the trim ring behind it. Like that. And you can close it down. That trim ring, that free spool release is working so much better there. A little bit of grease onto the shaft here. That's so that as it goes through the pinion gear here, it slides nice and easy. Case went on beautifully. Now let's see if we can remember. It's been a while now. Let's see if we can remember where those screws go. And the long screws went all the way up top. I'm just going to put one of them in for now. The 4 screws that were shorter, they go on the sides. We're going to put one on each side. I like to balance the tension on that case by alternating positions of the screws rather than trying to put them all together on one side. Come back and put the second one that holds that harness lug assembly in. And then we're going to turn the reel over because we have those two smaller diameter screws that are going to go into the bottom here. So again, the Convector series is a nice series. It's got the graphite case, so it's not going to show a lot of rust and rot and the like. It's a shame that that star adjuster is probably just pot metal or something, because we've seen the whiting on there from the salt corrosion and that, and I don't know if there's anything you can do to clean that up. All right, and then we're going to just finish the screw up top here. Put the other two in, put the handle on, and we're going to see how we did. We already know it's pretty much turning the way it should, because we just tested that before we put it on. And that's something I recommend everybody do. Don't go putting the 8 screws or whatever this is here into the case without testing to make sure that you're not binding. It's kind of a lot of wasted energy if you come back to find out that well, you gotta deal with this stuff. All right, there's that little tension spring. Now this one has gotten compressed, so just bend the wing in a little bit. That's so that you don't back the star adjuster all the way up against the handle. That's all the purposes that serves. And we can grab that handle. And I noticed on this one, and you should pay attention to which hole they were using. This is not the high leveraged hole. This is the, I guess, the normal hole, if you will. Tighten it down as much by hand as you can. And again, I don't have the wrench. I have no idea where it is, and it doesn't make sense to go chase one. I'm going to use a channel lock. I'm just going to turn it hand tighten. And as I'm doing that, I'm just noticing now there are 2 flat sides here. Probably should have paid better attention. It looks like maybe it's an 11 millimeter cut. Well, it's probably a 10. There you go, it's a 10 millimeter cut. So you can, instead of doing it the way we just did it, grab that. Always learning something. Grab that 2-slotted and take it off with your wrench. See, I've been the victim. I've done so many pen reels where the only way to get that star off was that. All right, there we got our clicking here. Let's give it a try. Well, that's certainly running nice. That's certainly going a lot smoother, and the spool is spinning beautifully. So this is your Convector 55SS trolling reel, all ready to go fishing again. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. If you did, please like it. Again, if you like these types of videos, please subscribe, as I'm constantly posting new videos, and you'll be able to learn about how to service them and keep them fishing for a long time to come. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. And to everyone, have a great day. I wish you good luck fishing, and stay healthy. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.